Hey, good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Happy Friday. We made it, guys. We made it through an entire week, and most of us didn't die. That's a happy thing, right? Hello, Cam1138. Hello, Starlaw. I see you guys over there on the YouTube chat. I just want to get some announcements out of the way today. We have next week, Thursday of next week, Gabor Lux will be on the show. Now, he is responsible for a whole lot of classic gaming content, a lot of great stuff that you can buy today. He's going to talk about all of his projects. We're going to link to it. You can check his works out. But Gabor is a righteous dude and an absolute force in creating new classics in role-playing games, stuff that we can play with using OD&D and first edition AD&D rules. So yeah, it's going to be really awesome to have Gabor on the show, and that will happen Thursday. So really looking forward to that. Yeah. Still waiting to hear back from Alan and nail down a time. That may be next week. It might be the week after, but I will reach out and touch base with him, and we'll find out about that. Also, next week, just a friendly reminder, this is a community service announcement, a little public service ad brought to you on behalf of all the old school gamers everywhere. Next Tuesday is Gygax Day. That's right. Next Tuesday is July 27th. So plan to do something special gaming. Play a little OD&D. Play a little AD&D. Maybe paint some miniatures. Maybe do some more gaming. Purchase some classic stuff from Drive-Thru RPG and get it print on demand. Get yourself a copy of Chainmail or OD&D and do that, you know. Don't forget to wear your Hawaiian shirt and be as grumpy and as neckbeardy as possible. So next Tuesday. As for myself, my AD&D game spans from Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern until 1 in the morning Tuesday. So we will actually be playing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition on Gygax Day, and I'm very happy about that. May give a little boon to my players, but we'll have to see. Don't get your hopes up, crowd, if you're out there. Oh, I got a lot of people in chat. Hello, Katie. Hello, Adam, Bo, James, and to whomever it is over on Facebook that's viewing. Now, here's the crappy thing about Facebook. Whoever that is, they might have made a comment I might not know for 12 hours. Facebook might just say, John Smith commented on your video. And I go and I scroll through and I look and it's like, you know, somebody said something 10 minutes in. Well, here, it's Aaron Smith, who's a righteous guy, too. You know, it let me see his message. But again, it may just, I'm not going to post up your links to your comments. You're not going to get to see those for a while. So, if you follow me exclusively on Facebook and you make comments in the live stream, and they're really incisive and neat and cool, and I miss them, I will address them in a following stream. So, you know, just be aware. I'm not ignoring you. I'm not like, you know, you Facebookers are second-class citizens or anything. So don't even fret. Don't even worry about that. So what else is happening? Oh, this may seem like an odd ego-stroking thing, but I need to ask you guys a favor. If you're watching the video on YouTube right now, even if you're watching on Facebook, on this in all previous and subsequent videos. If you're a fan of the streams, if you like watching them, could you give them a like? Hit that like button. Or hit the dislike button if you don't like them. Okay? If you don't like them, hit the dislike button. If you do like them, hit the like button. Give me that thumbs up. It helps with the metrics. Even greatly disliked videos, if they're not reported on, like, you know, Bill showed up wearing a Schussen-Stoffel uniform and extolling the virtues of German government from 1933 to 1945, you know, as long as it does get reported, it's good engagement. And it helps me get out there and get more people in, which brings us closer to the mini-con. We're sitting at 732 viewers right now, and we want to pump those numbers way up. We want to get 1,000 viewers on the channel, because we're going to have that big-time celebration where we are going to have a mini-con. And if you watched the short video yesterday, which if the numbers are anything to go by, more people watch those than watch the live streams. If you watch a short video yesterday, I showed off a bunch of stuff up here. I didn't show what was in it, but the boxes, like from this wall over here to the far end of the room over there, there's a 2-foot deep shelf that's stacked to the ceiling, like 3 more feet above it, with nothing but Dwarven Forge. And at the mini-con, all the D&D games I play at the mini-con, all the D&D games I run for you guys at the mini-con are going to be fully realized in Dwarven Forge. You're going to have the camera out, you're going to have minis. Now, Katie is one of my local buds. Katie has seen the massive Dwarven Forge sets I do. And back me up on this one, Katie. Is it or is it not a sight to see? Is that not awesome? Bo says, I blame Twitter, TikTok, and cable TV. I don't blame you, man. I blame them too. I blame them too. J'accuse. So those are just some things. James found the James Keck Observatory emoticons. So, excuse me, kids, emojis. So he's actually got an observatory emoji. That's pretty neat. So yeah, that's stuff that's happening, stuff that's coming up, stuff I'd like to see. And remember, tell all your friends, like and subscribe on my channel, because you want to go to a convention with none of the baggage of getting a plane and a hotel room and exposing yourself to Andromeda strain. So, just FYI. What else have we got going on? Nothing fell over and caught fire today. That's good, right? I'm broadcasting in 1080p. Which is going to suit me fine, just probably till the heat death of the universe. I'm never going to, like, break myself in half to get 4K. If my cable company tomorrow says, you know what, you've got a gigabit up and a gig down, yeah, then I'll start working out how to do 4K. But then I don't really have the computers to stream 4K. Like this little guy I'm working with right here, he's holding his own. But CPU usage doing a 1080p stream over 2 channels is currently sitting at 61%. I think this thing would start to smoke. Like, I would see billows of black smoke pouring out of this poor little Dell Office PC's chassis if I tried to stream in 4K from it. So 1080p is how it's going to be for the next while. Now, as you might see over here, dang it, over here, I have the player's handbook up. And yes, we are going to talk today about Illusionist. But you know, I think I'm going to move the player. I'm gonna move this over here today. It's over there now. It's over there. You never know till you try. All right, so I mean it's a 4th gen i5, I think, bow with 8 gigs of RAM, so it's not exactly a world-beating PC. I bought a video card for it because I thought, hey, I can do 1080p if I take the load off the CPU with NVENC. Yeah, the video card I bought doesn't support NVENC. It's a GT10 series, but it's a 1030. And, like, there's some weird hacky Russian drivers that you can allegedly activate NVENC with. I'm not putting Russian software on my computer. I'm sorry. Alright, so anyway, we've got our player's handbook out. Yesterday, we wrapped up fighters and their subclasses. Almost. And I say almost because, well, we'll get to the bard on down the line. But we wrapped up fighters and subclasses, Paladin and Ranger, yesterday. Today we're going to take a look at spellcasting subclasses. And we're going to start this unit with the subclass of magic user known as Illusionist. Now, an Illusionist in AD&D, I'm just going to tell you straight up because I do get asked, does AD&D do X, Y, or Z, or is that analogous to this, that, or the other? I don't know if other editions have a dedicated Illusionist class. I don't. I know that starting with the middle of 2nd edition AD&D, they really started to ruin the magic user class by breaking it into so many subclasses that it's just like, you know, that much granularity. It's as bad as a skill system, if you ask me. But today we're going to look at the Illusionist. So grab your player's handbook and come with me over to page 26. Let's see, I scrolled down way too far. And we're going to zoom in that. Don't you worry, we're going to zoom in. Oops. Maybe not quite that much. That's perfect. That's perfect. So taking from the texture, Illusionists form a subclass of magic users, and in most respects they conform to the characteristics of the latter. To be an Illusionist, a character must have a minimum intelligence of 15 and a minimum dexterity of 16. High manual dexterity is required in the casting of the spells used by this class. If you want to do the famous inverted finger wiggle, for example, that requires a very high dex, guys. It just does. So an Illusionist is not a dumping ground for bad magic users. Magic users are a dumping ground for people who couldn't hack it as Illusionists. Think about that. And we're going to see, as we examine this class, that Illusionists do have a powerful repertoire of spells. Gary says that they're equal or slightly inferior to normal magic users in most respects. I don't agree with that, again, for reasons that we're going to get into. So Illusionists can use any potion not restricted to fighters, Illusionist scrolls, and magic user scrolls which contain spells usable by Illusionists. We'll get onto that later. All rings. Now think about that. Think about rings that you think might only apply to magic users, like a ring of wizardry or a ring of shooting stars or something like that. And that's pretty important. Rod of Cancellation, Staff of Striking, and Wands of Enemy Detection, Fear, Illusion, Magic Detection, Metal and Mineral Detection, Secret Door, and Trap Detection, and Wonder. Now, I would opine that there are certain wands that are listed as usable by any that might fall into that, but if you're playing by a strict interpretation of the player's handbook, then that's the limit of what you've got. But you're going to see something, because talking about the Illusionist is really more about getting into spells and what their spells can do than what they can do with magic items. Miscellaneous magic items usable by every class of character. Crystal balls, but not with any added powers. All robes, excluding the robes of the Archmage, and books and similar written works readable by magic users. Artifacts, which are not prescribed items with respect to illusionists, such as armor, swords, axes, etc., and magic daggers. An illusionist can manufacture magical items. They may do so at 10th level. This is done much in the same manner in which regular magic users create magic items. Illusionists have a similar XP chart to Rangers, actually. Illusionists use a 4-sided hit die for accumulation of hit points. So having a good con is kind of helpful as an illusionist. Our spell, or our level names rather, we have Prestidigitator to start. That's one of those Gygax $5 words that you learn how to say and you're very proud, your vocabulary expands. Prestidigitator. Minor Trickster, Trickster, Master Trickster, Kabbalist, Visionist, Phantomist, Apparitionist, Spellbinder, I love that title, Illusionist. So name level is 10th. Now, it does not say anything about establishing a stronghold or followers. And it does note that illusionists don't gain any experience bonus for having high scores in their required abilities of intelligence and dexterity. If you are going by the strictest interpretation, since it doesn't say that they can build a stronghold, they can't. You may wish to opt for the same way that magic users handle it and say, oh, okay, a magic user can, or an illusionist can attract a stronghold and clear a hex, same as a magic user can. Best practices for an illusionist are essentially the same as a magic user. Focus on henchmen and hirelings to survive your dungeon experience. Gnomes, elves, half-elves, and humans may be illusionists. In fact, the gnome illusionist thief is such a popular combination in classic forms of Dungeons and Dragons, except for 4th edition where you can't play a gnome. So we don't. I mean, I'm reluctant to talk about 2nd edition, reticent to talk about 3rd edition, indifferent to 5th edition. We don't talk about 4th edition on this live stream. So that's all I'm ever going to say about it. Dang it, James, I miss saying goodbye. Well, you have fun too. 5e, you can play a wizard with the illusionist as a school. Having a specific illusionist class always seemed odd to me, so this should be interesting. Taking a break from the Brutal Hexen mod. Are you creating a Brutal Hexen mod, or is there a Brutal Hexen mod that you're playing? Doug Henning. I thought about using a Doug Henning image to start my stream off. I honestly did. Katie says maybe they can just make their invisible friends real. All right, we'll get back to the comments in a bit. Now, I'm going to do something a little rare. I'm going to dip into... Oh, I'm scrolling down to the thief. I'm going to dip into house rules. Like, I'm just gonna dive straight in. Where magic user books and inscribing in them are laid out in the above section up here about magic users, it's not in the Illusionist's character description. I think this is an oversight by Gary. I think Illusionists should have read and write illusion magic and start out with a limited set of spells at first level, just like magic users do. I think that should have been something included, and I do that. I basically invented read illusion magic and write illusion magic that works just like read magic and write do in magic users. It really simplifies things, because I've had illusionist players insist that, like clerics, they get the entire repertoire of spells. They just pick and choose which one they're going to know, and that their spell book is just full of all the illusionist spells. I prefer not to do that, and we're going to see why. So that's what I have to say about illusionist best practices. Gnome is never bad if you have the dex and you have the intelligence. Human, of course, unlimited leveling. If you're going to specialize, weapons-wise, I think it's daggers. I don't remember where the weapons specialization table is and what it says exactly that an illusionist can use. Let me see. Whoops. I'm scrolling all over the place. So let me take a look here. Weapons. So let's go over to page 36 and just make sure that I'm speaking the truth about weapons and who can use what types. That is not the page that I wanted. Oh, we can look at that momentarily. But the point is, even if it is only daggers, throw them. Take like 6 or 8 daggers into the dungeon with you and throw them. Don't try to get up in melee. I mean, if you're an illusionist thief, maybe, backstab melee if you have to. You'll have slightly better than average hit points, since you'll be using a D6 and a D4 averaged. But we'll get into that when we get into multi-classing. Maybe it's up here. Oh, that's monks, and we're going to get to them. Okay, well, be that as it may. Let's talk about the most potent thing that illusionists have going for them at first level and beyond, which is... Oh, I scrolled straight past it. I'm going in the wrong direction. Illusory magic. Now, a lot of these spells duplicate the effects of certain spells, certain clerical spells, certain magic user spells, and even in some cases clerical spells. But in the case of the illusionist, they have a set of spells that can be very, very potent, even more so than a magic user. And this is where, when I talk about teaching you guys to play D&D and best practices, this section is absolutely essential to running an illusionist. And we're going to look at the description of these spells, but I just kind of want to give you guys a gander. We have Audible Glamour, which is a second level magic user spell that lets you make noises at a distance. You can make like 90 feet away, you can make it sound like boots marching away from where you're hidden. And monsters might go rushing off in that direction while you make good your escape. Change Self, Color Spray, Dancing Lights, combined with Audible Glamour, you've got a practically flawless illusion, for lack of a better term, to distract your enemies with. Darkness, detect illusion, detect invisibility, gaze reflection, hypnotism, light, phantasmal force. We're going to come back to that. And wall of fog, which is also good for obscuring. But let's look at what you get as an illusionist. And we're going to have to scroll down here a minute. So we get to druids, and then we're blowing through druids, and then we're magic users. They're all the way at the end. All the way at the end. And here we are, Illusionist spells. This is why the Illusionist is an interesting class. Okay, so Audible Glamour. It functions the same as the second level magic user spell, Audible Glamour. So right off the bat, you see where Illusionists are capable of doing things a little bit better than a magic user in terms of saving the party's bacon. Change self. Change self. This enables the illusionist to alter the appearance of his or her form, including clothing and equipment, to appear a foot shorter or taller, thin, fat, or in between, human, humanoid, or any other generally man-shaped bipedal creature. The duration is 2d6 rounds base plus 2 additional rounds per level of the spellcaster. So at first level, you have this for 4 to 14 rounds. That might just buy you enough time to change self into an orc, walk around the corner, see what the ambush is going on. Maybe your illusionist speaks orcish. Talk to them and say, no, adventurers aren't coming this way. They're coming from that way. And then go back to your party. You beginning to see where illusionists have more than a little bit of an edge? This is the illusionist's sleep, if you will. And I hate this spell. As a dungeon master, I hate this spell. As a player, if you're going to play an illusionist, you absolutely better hope that this is one of the spells you start with. Color spray. So you wave your hands and start humming Next is the E by Moby. Upon casting this spell, the illusionist causes a vivid, fan-shaped spray of clashing colors to spring forth from his or her hand. From 1 to 6 creatures within the area of effect can be affected. The spellcaster is able to affect 1 level or hit die of creatures for each of his or her levels of experience. Affected creatures are struck unconscious for 2 to 8 rounds if their level is less than or equal to the spellcaster. They are blinded for 1 to 4 rounds if their level or number of hit dice is 1 or 2 greater, and they are stunned, like Power Word Stun, which is a 7th level magic user spell, for 2 to 8 segments if their level or number is 3 hit dice or more above the spellcaster. All creatures above the level and all creatures of 6th level or 6 hit die are entitled to a saving throw versus the color spray. Material components of the spell are a pinch of each powder or sand colored red, yellow, and blue. Take that in. 2nd level illusionist, huge ancient red dragon. Now granted, they get a pretty high save. What thing can a 2nd level magic user do to even have a chance of saving their bacon in that situation? Nothing. But the illusionist can. The illusionist can do something to potentially save the party, or at least slow up the opposition. That is a damn powerful spell. I mean, it functions like Power Word Stun, which is a spell a magic user can't cast until they hit 14th level. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. And then we have Dancing Lights, which is like the first level magic user spell. Darkness, like the second level magic user spell. Again, you're getting second level magic user spells at the first level as an illusionist. Detect Illusion. How many times have you found yourself in a D&D game in a situation where you saw something and said, I disbelieve? Got an illusionist in your party? They can make it real. Sudden sheet of flames springing up, stopping you from advancing any further. If it's an illusion, your illusionist might be able to tell you. Detect Invisibility. Think an invisible stalker is going to creep up on the party? Right there. Same as the second level magic user spell. Again, illusionist getting access to second level magic user spells 3 levels before the magic user does. Gaze Reflection. Did your DM ever thrown a basilisk or catoblepus or medusa or anything else that has a vision attack? Including beholders, guys. Including beholders. Gaze Reflection. The Gaze Reflection spell creates a mirror-like area of air before the illusionist. Any gaze attack, such as that of a basilisk or medusa, will be reflected back upon the gazer if it looks upon the spellcaster. Powerful stuff. Hypnotism. The gestures of the illusionist, along with his or her droning incantation, causes from 1 to 6 creatures to become susceptible to suggestion as the magic user spell. The suggestion must be given after the hypnotism is cast, and until that time, the success of the spell is unknown. It does get a saving throw. But this doesn't... This is 1 to 6 creatures. Again, huge ancient red dragon. The illusionist at first level might be able to deal with it. I suggest you let us go. Fails its saving throw? Okay. Get. All of you, get. What's the first level magic user going to do? Magic missile! Pew! Bah! You know. Light as the first level magic user spell light. Phantasmal Force as the third level magic user spell. This spell, Phantasmal Force, I have seen used and abused. I hate it and I love it. I love it because I love to see players break this out and be able to use it over and over. Let's look at Phantasmal Force. In fact, I'm going to save myself some scrolioses. Oh boy. Oops. It's going to take a little bit. Third level magic user spell. When this spell is cast, the magic user, or in our case the illusionist, creates a visual illustration which will affect all believing creatures which view the phantasmal force, even to the extent of suffering damage from phantasmal missiles or falling into an illusory pit full of sharp spikes. Note that the audio illusion is not a component of the spell. The illusion lasts until struck by an opponent or unless the spellcaster causes the illusion to react appropriately, or until the magic user ceases concentration upon the spell due to desire, moving, or successful attack, which causes damage. Creatures which disbelieve the phantasmal force gain a saving throw versus the spell, and if they succeed, they see it for what it is, and add +4 to associate saving throws if this knowledge can be communicated effectively. Creatures not observing the spell are immune until they view it. The spell can create the illusion of any object or creature or force as long as it is within the boundaries of the spell's area of effect. This area can move within the limits of the range. The material component of this spell is a bit of fleece. You're getting fleeced. But the point is, guys, any object or creature or force. You want a phantasmal force of a lake of boiling lead under the feet of your opponents? If they don't make their saving throw, they're going to actually take damage. Or they're going to believe they're taking damage. You have a pack of friendly knights, a company of friendly knights suddenly appear in the midst of enemies, and you're concentrating on them actually being bashed and pushed back. They're going to suffer damage. Just let that sink in. An illusionist can do that at first level. An illusionist can summon something that could kill a hill giant at first level, potentially. Now, some DMs have ruled this. Fortunately, I haven't had an illusionist ask me. But some DMs allow that to include, because it says force, a magical force. What about a stinking cloud? What about a cloud kill in that area? If the illusionist knows about it, the illusionist can make it appear in their mind. You couple it with a magic user casting Audible Glamour, monsters aren't necessarily going to be able to do anything about it. Guys, illusionists are a potent spellcaster. You start getting up into the higher ones like Phantasmal Killer, where you literally create the mental image of the most feared thing to that opponent that they could possibly imagine, and they fail their saving throw, they're going to die. They're going to die. And Phantasmal Killer is like a 3rd level illusionist spell. Illusionists, even at 1st level, guys, are really potent spellcasters. Don't let Gary try and fool you with that. They're lesser spellcasters. And there's another spell, and it comes along a little bit later with Illusionist. Improved Phantasmal Force. That comes with sound. And I don't think the magic user has, or the illusionist has to concentrate on it. Blindness. You don't want your opponent to see you anymore. Blur. Deafness. You don't want them to hear you. Detect magic. Fog cloud. Hypnotic pattern. Invisibility. Magic mouth. Mirror image. Misdirection. Ventriloquism. Where is the one I want? Yeah, Phantasmal Killer, 4th level. So at 6th level, you have the chance of being able to drop Phantasmal Killer on your opponents. Oh, we're being faced by a Type 3 demon? Guess what? There's an angel behind you. Is the one I'm thinking of? Yeah. All right, you've got to be like 14th level before you can cast Prismatic Spray, but Prismatic Spray is basically a death ray. But by the time you're up there, everybody else in the party has similar equipment or similar spells, so do not underestimate the power of the illusionist as a player. You don't have to go out and be some Fruit of the Loop, Fruit Loop, some Fruit Loop like Doug Henning with this character. You carry some powerful magic around. And there's something else at 9th level, or rather at 14th level. Guess what? Illusionists loop back around and can start using 1st level magic user spells. That's right. An illusionist who can throw out 7 magic missiles? Yeah. Let me see what the strictures on that are. Whoops. All right, so at 7th level, you can cast all of these. At the 14th level of experience, Magic Missile at the 14th level of experience, that's 5 magic missiles you can sling out. Or is that 7? It's one every, I think it's one every 2 level. I think that's 7 magic missiles. Again, when you're playing up to that level, everybody else is also pretty well equipped. But the ability to back up your magic user and employ all that fun stuff, you know, then that's there you go. And also note that when you take magic user spells, it's 4 or more first level magic user spells crammed into that slot. So those 7 magic missiles, yeah, make that 28 magic missiles, because you decided to put 4 castings of magic missile in your 14th level spot. Now you start to see the power of this fully armed and operational advanced Dungeons and Dragons 1st edition Illusionist. It's almost more fun than just playing a straight magic user, guys. You don't get Fireball, you don't get Lightning Bolt, you don't get Disintegrate, but there is a world of awesome spells that you can employ as an Illusionist in 1st edition AD&D. Try it out. Definitely give it a spin if you've got a chance to play AD&D. Just try and be nice to your Dungeon Master. Illusionist magic is hard to DM. Alright, let's go into some questions. Paul Becklada says, hirelings, 2 smiling ladies that stand to either side of your illusions and help you move your props around. Yes. And somebody to work sound, somebody to play really rapid disco music while you slide the boxes around and pull the pull the scarves out of your sleeves and all that stuff. Playing gives the characters more weapons, relics, and a leveling system to balance this. Enemies are tougher. Okay. Page 19. Thank you, Cam. Dagger, dart, and staff. So yes, dart. Magic user or illusionist. Dart, 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 dart. Use darts. Don't use staff. Don't use dagger. Your dagger's for cutting steak. Your staff is for leaning on when you're really tired. Always use darts. Always use darts. Kyle broke the math out for us the last time he was here about why it's important that magic users use darts. Your chance to hit with any one weapon is extremely low. At the ranges you're going to be engaging with darts, it actually gets really, really high when you're throwing out 3 darts around that you're going to hit a monster. In a setting with weapon enhancements and magical chemicals, how dangerous is a person trained with a sling? Very dangerous. Sling of Seeking is absolutely a terrifying thing to behold. Throw in a bag full of bullets +2, and you basically have yourself a D&D, Chris Kyle level sniper who can really, really do some damage to opponents long range. And it might not seem like much, but stop and consider that the disruptive powers of a sling stone. The evil magic user's winding up again. Sorry, guess I ruined whatever spell you were getting ready to cast. So an illusionist could trick a monster into absolutely, Adam, absolutely a save or die situation. Now, there are major devils and major demons, even setting aside their magic resistance, it just won't work on, because they're illusionists. They have the power of illusion themselves. It's just like, I don't think so, Doug Henning. And then they go all oh, what's his name? Juggernaut. I'm gonna rip you in half now. Paul says, weirdos always wanted to play anti-paladins. I want an anti-illusionist. Be like the amazing Randy and go around calling illusionists and psionists frauds. You broke me. You broke me, Paul. Well, that's a fake. You're not really affecting people with your mind. Except, of course, an AD&D magic and psionics is real. I think he would last for one adventure. Hey, squid face, I don't think you can really affect us with your mind. Mind flare. Blat! And then that's the end of it. So, there is the Illusionist. In a nutshell, they're a really powerful class. Don't underestimate them, and don't turn your nose up at playing them if you want to play a magic using class and you've got the stats. There's a reason they have a hard row to hoe when it comes to their XP charts. When they get up to where they can cast 4 blasts of 7 magic missiles, or prismatic spray, or summon a prismatic wall, Illusionists can be a frightful and terrifying force to behold. Again, their basic best practices are no different than anything I've outlined, as far as getting hirelings, focusing on dart throwing, putting extraneous high scores into either decks. I mean, you've got a high dex already. Your armor class is already going to be reduced a little bit out of the box. So, if you're absolutely insistent on playing an Illusionist, and there's nothing wrong with it, and you roll up your stats, and let's say you get 10, 11, 12, but then you also get 15, 16, 18, put the 18 in your dex. Put the 15 in your con for 1 extra hit point. And then, of course, the 16 into your intelligence. And again, humans, of course, gnomes, elves, and half-elves can all play Illusionists. There's nothing bad about playing an Illusionist. Illusionists are a great class. And I think the fact that they got kind of denigrated, depreciated in later versions of D&D, I mean, they're not even in any of the basic D&Ds. People that fall all over themselves and talk about how much they love basic. Oh, it's so much cleaner and better to understand and easier to understand than advanced Dungeons and Dragons. You don't get cool stuff like the Illusionist there, though. And before you tell me, well, I could just port it over. I can make that claim about anything. I'm talking about playing AD&D as a complete system. Playing the Illusionist is good fun, and it's a good class. And in the last 10 or 15 minutes here, we'll open up to questions. Any questions at all? If anyone has any comments or questions or anything about the Illusionist. I'm reminded, it seems, Kitty says, it seems they were all cut up into different magic, ushered in 5e. Yeah, really. Our magic users in 5e. Yeah, magic user and Illusionist is enough division for me. Sorcerer and Wizard and Warlock and Necromancer are all level titles, and I think it should have stayed that way. Yeah, I'm putting on my Edition Warring grumpy old man britches here, but I think it should have stayed like that. I don't think there should have been a division into all these tiny little ultra fine, ultra subclasses. I just don't. I just do not feel that that should have been done. Why is this one of those classes you're never going to get to play, Cam? There's a question for you. Why do you say that? Tell me why. By the way, I want to share a joke with you guys while you ask that. Hi, Rich Denver. Let's see. Paul says, what was the appendix end link between Gnome and Illusionist, or did they put them together to throw a bone to the gnomes? I don't know. I have seen but never owned or read a copy of that coffee table book, Gnomes, the Book of Gnomes, that was really popular, that is allegedly why Gary put gnomes in AD&D as a playable class. Maybe it's in there. Maybe. Let's see. Well, Cam, you need to DM then and run yourself a gnome NPC. Can you choose to dual class between subclasses? Yes. Yes, you can. You can play a gnome assassin. I'm sorry, you can play an assassin illusionist. I think that is an option available to gnomes. Oh my god, just the mental image of this chaotic evil gnome who's an assassin. You'd be like one of those little things from the Puppet Master movies, those horrible Charles S. Band horror movies that starred Paul Le Mat. You know, if you remember those from the 80s, the Puppet Master films, that's what you'd be like. Or, oh, that one in Cat's Paw, or Cat's Eye, the Stephen King movie, you know, the gnome thing that's trying to kill the little girl and gets killed by the cat. I'm truly sorry about that, Cam, that your chance to play is... reach out to me, please, in Gmail, bsylvia@gmail.com. Maybe I can help out with that a little bit. I don't know. Oh, I ran a Christmas one-shot all-gnome game. That's sweet. I run a Christmas game, too. I'll tell you guys... I mean, this is going to sound completely insane, but guys, Christmas is just kind of right around the corner. It's 5 months away, and if you think that's a really long time, you're not old like me and watching the years just zip by. Magic Ninja Gnome, I guess, if that's how you want to categorize that. I think Goosebumps came a little after, but that, yeah, sure. Rich, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you, and I'm not going to stop hurting you. That pun. Oh, that pun. That is... I failed my saving throw. Rich, you're fired. Can you play a magic user, let's say to level 3, and then dual class into Illusionist, or go Paladin into Ranger? If you're human, I don't see why you couldn't... you guys are having way too much fucking fun with this today. Oh, that's awesome. Can you play a magic user to level 3 and then dual class into Illusionist or Paladin into Ranger? I'm going to say yes on 1 and no on 2. If you step away from being a Paladin, no matter how good your heart is and no matter how favorable, even your god might view your departing the order, I'm going to say that you cannot leave. So let's say you Paladin up to 5th level and then say, I want to be a Ranger, I have the stats. And then you go off and you behave like a Ranger. There may be things as a Ranger you have to do that behaviorally would break with your Paladin order. And if you willingly give it up, you can't go back. So even though you hit 5th level as a Ranger, you don't now get to freely mix them. Now, you could do Cleric Ranger. You could even potentially do Magic User Ranger. Anything that you have the stats for both items in, you can dual class. I would almost even say that you could, if you had the stats, you could start as a Ranger and then dual class into Paladin, because in dual classing, once you start the new class, you are that class until you reach the level that you left off in the previous class, and you can mix and match. But as far as advancement, you and abilities, you are forever more the new class. You will always be a Paladin unless you step out of being a Paladin by unvirtuous behavior. Thank you, Adam. I do know about that. I just again, and I shouldn't have dipped into house rules. I should have just pointed that out, but that's just more my way of approaching it. Gnome Assassin, the Keeblers send their regards, Mr. Nabisco and Crossbow Twang. Yeah, exactly. You could dual class as a Cleric Paladin. I just don't think you could go to Paladin Cleric. Maybe you could do Paladin Cleric. Maybe. But Paladin Ranger, I would think whatever you have to start as, you have to, or whatever combination you want to do, you would have to start in a class, then switch to Paladin, because you're a Paladin ever after. So yes, Adam, I saw that. Oh, Rich, why did you take your message away? There's no race like gnomes for the holidays. You should have left that in. Type that back up. Go back and edit and unretract your message. That was hilarious. That's the kind of dad joke that we love around here, around the crazy gibberish. What's this thing do? This is my universal translator. It translates any language spoken into it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. How come? It only translates things into some unknown dead language. Hello, bonjour, crazy gibberish. That's the kind of crazy gibberish we like. So, any questions about the awesomeness that is the Illusionist? I give Shelby and I gave Steve grief about running Illusionists in my game. It's just because it's so friggin' powerful. They're so powerful. If you're like, man, magic users are just I can't with magic users. Run an Illusionist then if you have the stats. Magic users are guys who couldn't hack it as Illusionists. They're more powerful, dudes. Run Illusionists if you have the stats and you want a spell casting character. So you can combine it. Which it do you mean, Katie? You can combine Paladin with Cleric, yes. Again, starting as a Cleric, leaving off, and becoming a Paladin. Views on disbelieving. What is the criteria? Generally, if the players look at something and they say, I choose to disbelieve, if it's something that can be disbelieved, I will do a behind-the-curtain int saving throw, 3d6 their int or less, and let them know. Or if the spell description calls for it, I might say, okay, give me a saving throw versus spells. No, you could not combine an Illusionist and a Paladin as a dual class. That a lawful good Illusionist is something I would... Dual classing is funny, and we're going to talk about dual classing when we're done with the classes. We still got Druids and Assassins, and then Monks and Bards to cover. And then we're going to talk about the characters with multiple classes, and I'll get to it. That's almost a case-by basis. There's no restriction on it. But just as a DM, just my gut feeling as a DM is that because illusion is deception and lies, that might not be something that works well with being a Paladin. Illusionist with Cleric? Sure. I mean, you might want to be a Cleric of a trickster god. And then that would work right in, I mean, an Illusionist Cleric of Loki? Why not? I'm not doing get help. Loki casting mirror image. By the way, I just want to share this real quick in the chat. If you're at work and you click this link and someone from HR sends you an email telling you to come to their office, don't blame me. Oglaf is not safe for work. This comic strip, however, is safe. And it's the Delusionist. It is the Delusionist class. You employ many magicians, Majesty, but do you have a Delusionist? What's that? It's the most efficient magic. Say you lost a leg. A healer might make the limb regrow. But that would take ages. He's got a partner with him. In seconds, a Delusionist could make you think, nah, I'm better off without it. That leg was holding you back. Incompetent as a governor, general, lover? Delusion can find somebody else to blame. Overrun by giant spiders? Oh, come on, they're not that big. Get out of my sight. Never return. Last panel. I thought that went well. Pretending to be magic is the real most efficient magic. You should definitely check that strip out. Oh my god, I'm losing viewers. Did you guys all leave to go look at Oglaf? Or did you get your internet access cut by your work because you clicked on that Oglaf link when I told you not to if you were at work? Alright, that's just going to about do it for me today, though, guys. You should really, if you get the stats, if you roll up the stats, 100% consider playing an Illusionist. They're a flexible, fun class, and you have the ability to destroy monsters at first level, or at least save the party from monsters at first level in a way that a regular magic user might not. A regular magic user might not. Look at that catalog of spells. Break out your player's handbook and look at that catalog of spells, because there are some truly awesome options for Illusionists. Again, 7th level Illusionist spells, when you start throwing those around, you're throwing out 28 magic missiles. in a combat. Yes, the Ranger vid yesterday was pretty good, I thought. But so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys. Had an absolutely wonderful week. Next week, Thursday, Gabor Lux will be here. Monday, we will kick it off again, and we will talk about the Druid. Then on Tuesday, we're going to look at the Assassin. Wednesday, the Monk. Thursday, Gabor will be here. Friday, we're going to talk about the Bard. Arguably one of the coolest classes. And then the following week, we'll start talking about multi-classing and dual classing. And I'll be able to answer some of your questions, Katie, a little bit better, a little bit more clearly about multi-classing and dual classing and all that jazzmatazz. And then, after that, we're going to look at psionics. Because it's the thought that counts. You guys have an absolutely wonderful day. I love you all. Thank you for stopping by. And I will see you all on Monday. Oh, and Tuesday, post-game wrap-up. Do something fun for Gygax Day. That's your homework. Next Tuesday, I want you to plan, get some friends together, or roll up some characters. Roll up some characters, and we'll share them on Wednesday. Yes, that's your homework for Gygax Day for Tuesday. Roll up some characters and share them on Wednesday. So you guys have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful weekend. Peace. I love you all.